we go.
We don't really know where the world is gonna go, but now everybody knows that you can't stop for too long. Got to keep.
The first step in generating wealth is to pay yourself first.
But now everybody knows.
Stay tuned.
Stay protected.
Stay focused.
Stay connected.
There's a lot of different types of HELOC products that are now on the market, some of them geared towards velocity banking, and that's really good news.
This is probably the largest asset you will ever have in your life.
Right.
Here's some direction and some instruction on how to leverage this vehicle so that you can help yourself, help your family, accomplish your goals. We're not educated that way.
We use a strategy to pay off our home in 4 years.
Validation of your retirement account says what you thought was a retirement account is no longer one.
When I tell you, you're going to be shocked to learn. If you didn't come from a wealthy family,
You can make sure a wealthy family comes from you. So it starts with pay yourself first today,
Yeah, starting today.
right now. Put your money in somewhere secure. It's about the ability to not lose. I will take base hits all day long versus winning and losing. Somewhere secure, compound your money, and then you leverage OPM, other people's money, to exponentially grow it. That's how you generate wealth.
so whether you're joining us to crush debt or build wealth, time is the most valuable asset. And we're so grateful that you're spending your time here with us.
Keep going.
Here we go. Oh, is that your volume?
That is all of my volume.
If you have recently changed jobs, if you've been laid off recently, if you are leaving your job to change employment, or maybe this is a new opportunity for you, this is the stream for you. We're talking about leverage.
Absolutely. And I think I keep saying this, we should just transition the channel to leverage because
Yeah.
for most of us, with it being the fourth quarter, it's I guess it's beginning to look a lot like the holiday season, right? It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. But the truth is, for most companies out there, it's the most wonderful time of the year to lay people off. Why is that? It's because in the fourth quarter is when most companies get it back into the black. Now, for retail, it's not that big of a deal because retail offers us Black Friday and Cyber Saturday to be able to get themselves back in black, right?
Yeah,
In most cases.
There are on the list of companies that are doing the most amount of layoffs. Retail, I mean, the Walmart's on there, Amazon's on there, tons of retailers are on there.
And that's where there's layers to this game, right? Who is being laid off? In most cases, it's those with the high, I'll call it the high income earners. Those who have tenure so that they can turn right around and they have to fill up the store. So they have to bring in the low cost employees to
right.
be able to stock the shelves and make sure that the retail is there. But
Right.
again, the whole objective is to get back in the black. And how might I know this?
Right. I was just about to say, like, you would know exactly what this process looks like because you're from this arena.
Well, not only that, I've not only been in the space, been in the rooms where we have had to corral the individuals that we're going to let go within this fourth quarter so that we can get back in the black.
Do you like how he put that? He's laid people off. Tons
Absolutely.
Of people.
But I've also been a result of those same moves, meaning I've been impacted and laid off as a result. And again, I get it because the thought process is this. We hired at the start of the year. We hired in that usually it's the February to May timeframe. We beefed up our resources to be able to get work done. But if we did not hit whatever those KPIs were, we're going into the fourth quarter knowing like what else is happening in the fourth quarter. What else is happening in the fourth quarter is we have to budget for the next year.
Right.
So how do we get the necessary budget if we're not in the black? So we do everything we can as a company, as a business to get back in the black. That may mean laying some people off. So while we're focused on, hey, we're headed into an election year, we're headed into the holiday season, not realizing that tomorrow we get past this slip or we get told to go fill up this box and we get walked out. On my end, from my personal situation, not only have I been a part of this process, but I kind of saw it coming. So I wasn't quite surprised, but for most of us have no clue that this is even happening. And the industries that this is happening in, I think right now we're talking tech companies, majority tech manufacturing, but the truth is it's everyone. And one of the largest is healthcare. That's not even on the list.
It's not on the list. Yeah,
But
we didn't have that on our list.
Here's what and again, I know what I know. The way healthcare works is, usually there's a lot of hiring that happens within that February to May timeframe. And then as you're approaching the fourth quarter, because you make money in healthcare based off the number of beds in your healthcare facility, unless there's some pandemic or some flu season that is now all of a sudden taken over, because most of the times people aren't getting sick during this period. And so what happens is the healthcare industry has to make adjustments. So they start letting people go. But then what ends up happening is we hit that flu season in January. So now they have to do what? Hire again. But they've already budgeted for that in, I guess the 25 fiscal year. And so they bring on all of these people only to rinse and repeat and do this all again. And it's not the same people being laid off. That's the sad part. It's borderline mathematical as to who is going to be laid off. You can almost tell it's the individual who has tenure, who their bonuses are higher, who's been with the company longer in most cases, but they sometimes will merge that with the guy who's only been there 90 days or 2 weeks or whatever. So it's a mathematical equation on which ones mathematically make the most sense to be able to let go. It's a sad situation, but I know for a fact it's happening. Yeah. It's happening right now.
Well, the good news is this is an opportunity for a lot of people, even though it can be devastating, and this can really take a lot of people by surprise. This could not be part of your plan. This would be a real financial bummer, right? Especially in terms of like, you got goals, you've got the holidays coming up, but this could be an amazing opportunity. And that's exactly because you're right. When you've been laid off twice, and each time we were like, what are we going to do? What does this mean? Right. And where are our opportunities? What we didn't know the first time, right? We knew the second time.
Right.
And that's what made the biggest difference, is that we were already in position to leverage, take advantage of. Some people, it's not about layoffs necessarily. This could be a strategy where you are looking at this as the opportunity to
change roles.
Right. Or grab a severance package knowing that you can go get rehired for more. That's exactly what happened to you, is that you got rehired at the same company with a promotion for more. So for some people, this is an opportunity. However, what that means is you now have a previous employer's plan. And so what do you do with that? And that's what we're going to talk about, is where those opportunities are, where your leverage is, because I agree with you. We should change the name of our channel to just where's your leverage? Yeah, where's your leverage?
Where's Waldo? Right?
Yeah, that was probably the biggest change for us, was understanding where our leverage is, how to use it, effectively how to use it. Yeah. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is how you can leverage your leverage. So
I like that. How you can leverage your leverage.
Leverage your leverage, yeah. Who do we got in here? We've got 24 people on right now. We've got...
let it be known.
Yeah, we've got... Where are you from? If you're watching, jump in the chat. We'd love to know who's watching. If you have any questions, if this is you, if you have any concerns, you would like to know, hey, listen... maybe you have a question just about pivoting, just in general. I think for a lot of people, this moment, this time, or the amount of fear or anxiety that's created in this quarter alone could be relieved by understanding where your power is and where you have control. So on that note, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Please put a Q in front of the chat. Love seeing some faces in here that we haven't seen in a while. Rob, we got some new people, Ghost Rider, and thanks for sharing too. Dark Wings from Hawaii. Right on, Jay. Okay. Ghost Rider said something up here. Hold on. Let me find it.
But yeah, thanks everyone for checking in, especially the fam that's normally in. But yeah, as I mentioned, there's a lot of people on the chat, but not everybody checks in. So please let us know where you're from. Let us know how you're doing. And not only if you have a question about this topic, if there are other questions that you want answered, we will also have an opportunity for you to be able to ask those as well. Today is about leverage, but we're always talking about leverage. It's where is your leverage located? Today, we're going to get specific around how these layoffs and how going into this fourth quarter can impact things. But ultimately, it's about leverage in general. Where is your leverage located? How to access it? Maybe you have leverage and you're trying to understand how to better use it. We can talk about those things as well. So.
Yep. All right. Oh, Frankie's in the chat.
What's up, Frankie?
Hi, Frankie. All right. We've got Mr. Taylor, Zaid. Ghost Rider said, should I quit or should I wait for the layoff and collect the severance package?
I'm all for taking other people's money. So if you know a severance package is coming, why not wait for it? But here's the key. Because I was actually given a heads up the second time that I was getting laid off as well. So what it allowed me to do is put the right pieces of the puzzle in place so that when it happens, I can immediately take action. And that's kind of what today's live is about. It's what are those actions you need to take now? If you know it's coming, what are those actions actions you need to take now to put the right pieces of the puzzle in place so that when this does occur, it's not a surprise. All you're doing is pivoting. All you're doing is taking action on what the next stage of this process will be so that you can be successful. So
Yep.
It's a great point.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. This was probably one of those pivotal moments for us to gain the confidence to take action in a different way. This was one of those moments where if we would have kept doing the same thing, expecting a different result,
Right.
we would have not been in the position that we are today. This was that moment where we could either perspective is what shaped that opportunity, and understanding and knowing that there is something bigger, that there is something more
Right.
to that we could achieve. I think what I'm trying to say is we first had to see what was possible to even understand that where we were wasn't where we wanted our bar to be. Right. So taking a moment like this, as scary as it was, right? And it was even more terrifying for you because I was already an entrepreneur. This is a moment for you where you went, is this when I'm going to leave? It was like double dutch. Like
Right.
that first time
Right.
you were like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to do this. And we went to the real estate and we were like, maybe, okay. Yeah. And then the second time, then you understood where your leverage was. You understood where your control was, and you understood where the opportunities were and were not.
Right.
Therefore, it didn't feel like you were jumping in with a bunch of hope in your pocket, right? Just like a whole bucket of hope. It was, we could now strategize on how we were going to, where we were going to set our goals and how we were going to achieve them, right? And then how we could partner up and make those happen together. So some of this was a learn as you go, but it all happened with the first step. I will say that. And this was kind of that moment.
Yeah, and I'm not one for emotions, but as I think back, when I first got laid off, I was angry. And I was angry because I felt I was looking at it from a perspective of what could I have done different to be better prepared. And so the second time, it was kind of comical because not only did I know it was coming, after it happened the first time, I committed to leveraging them the way they were leveraging me. They were leveraging my time for this dollar amount, right? I get a salary based off this effort that I put forth. And my objective was to also now put them to work, leverage them to help build and grow and create what my next stage is going to be. So it's understanding, hey, I've got this income being generated. I got these bonuses coming along, but it's not going towards the stuff and things that we were used to kind of transitioning our income in. It was, you know what, how can this income now better fit our next objective, which is growing this business? And putting ourselves in a position to where we can take this leap and not be afraid. But the fear part is like, I can't put into words how scary it is. I can't put into words how scary it was. Because there was so many things from I'll call it a professional development perspective that needed to happen in order for us to kind of step out and go beyond where we were. And so again, today is just about where your leverage is located, how to be able to access it. But there are so many pieces to this puzzle that have to be fully laid out on the table and identified. So for those of you who are in the midst of going through it, I sympathize. I empathize. Please, let's get on the calendar and let's talk about it, because I understand how scary it could possibly be. But for those of you who are not, I want you to look at it from the perspective of these companies do not care about you. Leverage them the way they are leveraging you. Why are you here? What is your purpose? Maybe your purpose is to make this company great that you work for great and wonderful. Or is there something else that you are wanting to do or have aspirations to become? How can you leverage where you are, the secure position that you have today, because it could change tomorrow? How do you leverage where you are to be able to put yourself in a better position so that you can take action? So if perspective, I think, is a great word. From today, take a look at how we walk through this and place yourself in a position of how can I put these actions in place for myself so that I can have a better leverageable position to be able to take action when I'm ready. Fair?
Yeah, I was just, I'll keep it short, but I was just marveling on how far we've come and the ability to, like, the dream, right? The goal was to help others. That was to get this information, the information that we were seeking, that we were missing, the keys that we were missing, is to get out there and hand them to others as quickly as possible. And just being in the moment, doing that, and knowing that we're secure and stable in doing this is a completely different feeling. And I was in the moment acknowledging that. So yeah, I'm grateful.
And it's leaping without having all the answers.
Yeah, it was.
Because my initial position was I can't get out here because I don't know all of the stuff and the things. I only know what we've been through. And
I was like, let's go find the answers.
And it was, let's share what we've been through. But in my mind, and again, it's conditioning. It's how I was raised. It's how you're supposed to present yourself. If I'm going to talk about a subject, I need to be the subject matter expert of that subject. And that's not true. Because sometimes people just need to meet people where they are. And some people need to just understand and see where you are. Because that gives them the confidence to go, you know what? I can get there.
I can get
too.
there. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
Right. I don't have to have it all right. I don't have to have all the answers. And that's kind of the objective of this channel. So
yeah. And so neither do you, but we are going to give you some anyway. These answers are important for being able to pivot and being able to stabilize yourself when you are in the midst of a decision like this. I think that's important for a lot of different reasons. And so that's what we're going to talk about. What do? You've got a new job. You're changing careers. Maybe you've been laid off. Maybe these are uncertain times, but you have a previous employer's plan. What can you do with that? That's what we're getting into next. Ready?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The goal should be, where can I achieve exponential growth? Exponential growth.
Let's just get into it. Let's just get into it.
There we go.
Perfect. You guys hear me okay? Everything's sounding all right? I just want to make sure I'm perfect.
Yep.
Good?
I think so. Yeah. Let us know in the chat if he's not.
Okay. So there's a lot I want to cover, but I'm going to move really fast through these slides. So again, maybe you're in the midst of transitioning to another role because you're choosing to, or maybe it's not by choice. Maybe it's because you have to, meaning you've been laid off because there's a lot going on. My objective is just to help you understand where some of your leverage might be located, how to use it, what you can do with it. And I'm going to hit on several different subjects today, but really it's about leverage. Again, whether you're impacted by a layoff or not, whether you're transitioning roles or not, this is absolutely for you because it's about where is your leverage located and how to use it. And so some of the common mistakes I'll say that I tend to see and or notice related to changing or moving or transitioning careers, because again, I've been through it. It's how many of this is you? Like, I changed jobs, and you know what I did with that previous employer plan? I cashed it out. I took that tax and penalty hit and I paid off some bills. I became, I reduced the amount of debt that I had, and then I moved into this next transition of my career. Or maybe you immediately, as you were changing careers, or, you intentionally put yourself in this position to where it was time for you to move on from the company that you were with to go into a different direction. You quickly transitioned or transferred or rolled over that employer's plan into another position. And this one is somewhat unique. It's not understanding how you can actually move assets into a retirement account if you wanted to. We'll dig into that. But this isn't necessarily a mistake, but it's something that people don't necessarily understand or know that's even possible. And we'll talk about that. And then this one is a big one. You guys would, I'm sure, be surprised at the number of conversations I have with people who, you know what, I used to work for this company or these many companies, and I know I had a retirement account with them, but I have no idea where it is. I have no idea how to access it. And it's forgetting about that previous employer plan and where it's located. And I get it, because imagine you've been doing your job for the last 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden someone taps you on the shoulder and say, hey, we need you in HR. and you don't have time to say goodbye, all you have time to do is pack your stuff in that box and you're actually physically walked out. Like, who's thinking about where my previous employer retirement account would be? You're trying to figure out what tomorrow is going to look like. Whether you have a severance package or not, it's an emotional event. I get it. So the fact that people forget that they even have a previous employer plan is not unusual. And then this last piece, understanding what to do with it. And that's the point and that's the purpose of this channel, to help you understand what to do with it. Now, there are hundreds of options. These are not the only options. I would love to hear from you outside of these options, what you think some of the options are. Like, you can liquidate that 401k from a previous employer, take that tax and penalty hit, and go put it to work. Go add it to your business, or, again, pay bills. You can get that new position, that new full-time position, and use it as leverage, meaning you've learned something while transitioning to the next role. You've learned that, you know what, these companies don't care about me. You've learned from this channel that financial institutions, life insurance companies, financial advisors, my job, my objective is to become them, to be able to leverage their systems and their processes the same way they've been leveraging me. And so you've learned that, you know what, now that I'm in this new position, I'm going to now leverage this position to help build my future. And then maybe I transition to becoming a contractor. This happens a lot, meaning there are companies who, and I'll ask the chat, have you seen where, you know what, some guy left the company on Friday, but they were rehired on Monday as a contractor? Why would this happen? Why would you give up, or not give up, why would you transition from the salary W-2 employer that you were to become that 1099 employee? I go back to Q4 is very, very impactful as it relates to getting a company back into the black. So a lot of times people will transition to 1099. Why? It's a cost save for the company. Transitioning to a contractor means they are no longer required to pay you benefits. They may pay you the same salary, or even I'll call it a larger salary, but what they're not required to pay you now are benefits. And that savings may be enough to put that company back into the black. Maybe you have rental properties, and you know what, you go, I've got this severance package coming, I've got 6-9 months of income that's coming to me as a lump sum. Maybe now it's time for me to liquidate my rental properties as well, put this dollar amount together, and now I'm going to transition and actually go focus on my purpose. And then, obviously, my favorite, rolling those dollars into a self-directed retirement account so that you can do both. You can leverage it and also actively invest from this 401k to help save time, effort, and also money. But my point is, this is not it. There are many other opportunities here. I'm curious as to what you might think I missed, because I'm telling you, there's hundreds of opportunities here. Yes, sweetheart.
Oh, they're just talking about that now they're mandating contributions into their 401ks.
How about that? And a lot of people don't know it.
Right.
They don't know that. All they know is, hey, I got FICA, I've got state, I got this stuff coming out of my paycheck. I thought it was just my my health care. I thought it was just my normal benefits, not realizing there was a portion going to a 401k. You are 100% correct, sweetheart.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm curious, what are you, if you are in the chat, what are you contributing if you have a 401k that is mandating contributions, or an employer that is? Yeah.
A lot of times it's a percentage. It's a specific percentage of your income, and it's not a significant percentage, because you get to decide whether or not you want to do something larger than that. But if you're saying I want to do nothing, it may be a standard 1, 2, 3% or something like that. I doubt it's up to the match. It's probably a percentage of what the match would be, but if you contribute it up to the full match, then, but I doubt that's coming out as mandatory, is my point.
All right.
And but why are we here, though? And again, it's beginning to look a lot like that holiday season, but the truth is, it's the most wonderful time for companies to get in the black at this period, because we're in the fourth quarter. So the purpose of today is help you understand, one, where is your leverage? How to use it? How do you access it? And if we're talking about, or as we're talking about self-directed retirement accounts, self-directed 401k specifically, how do you fund it and when? Because the idea is, if the focus is here, I'll give you the answers to the test now. you have till December 31st to create your self-directed 401k. But that's to create it. You actually have till September of 2025 to contribute to it. Why do I share this? We focus a lot on getting ready, becoming ready, so you don't have to get ready, meaning staying ready now, becoming ready now so you don't have to get ready later. It's about time. Instead of the time impact of not becoming properly structured so that you can have your processes in place, so if you are impacted by some layoff or you are impacted by some transition that you weren't expecting to have, you've got a vehicle that you can now leverage and use. And the cool part about not having to fund it until September, that means that you can fund your 401k in September of 2025 so that you can reduce your taxable income of 2024. That is quite powerful. So that's what we're talking about. And just so we're clear, as I mentioned, I've worked for him, I've worked for him, I've worked for him. I fully understand how impactful an environment like this is. And again, I sat in the boardrooms of both of these.
And more.
And more.
No doubt. And more. I've sat in the boardrooms of both of these where I was on I'll call it the delivering end of laying off individuals because, hey, it's the fourth quarter. We need to get back into the black. And I've also been impacted by those same things. And again, one of the groups that's missing on this list is healthcare. Healthcare is a huge industry as it relates to impacting individuals like this during this time frame. And this dollar amount that we're referencing down here, in this 87,000 layoffs, there's an impact of about 8.7 billion of retirement dollars impacted. And this right here is just how we got to that number. It's just simple math. On average, if you're in your 30s to 50s, you have somewhere between 50 to probably right around or just under $200,000 in your traditional retirement account. So again, 50 to 200,000, depending on your age, from age 30 to 50. So if we just use the average of 100,000, $100,000 are now $100,000 per 87,000 individuals being laid off. That's about $8.7 billion of retirement dollars that are capable of being leveraged at this stage. The question is, do you know how to leverage this 8.7? If you're looking at this from the perspective of this does not impact me, but I am a real estate investor. I am used to using other people's money. There are 87,000 individuals who are looking for a place to put this dollar amount so that they can grow it beyond where it currently is. If they become self-directed, here's an opportunity for them to work with you. So maybe you aren't impacted directly, but there's an indirect opportunity for you to take advantage of this 8.7 billion. But to get there, we have to kind of step back and just kind of talk through, because you've heard me talk a lot about a self-directed 401k. Today is absolutely about a 401k. Why am I not talking about an IRA? What is the difference between the two? So I just wanted to take a quick moment and kind of break down the differences between an IRA and a 401k and why this is a direct impact, meaning you have the opportunity to go find your leverage in a vehicle like this, whereas an IRA, not so much. Why? Well, the first step is individual retirement account, IRA. An IRA is just a glorified savings account. It requires support. It requires a bank. It requires a custodian. Whereas a 401k is a trust. It does not require bank support. It does not require interference from a bank. And therefore, it requires a trustee, and you are that. So no custodial interference. Well, what does that mean in math? Well, if you're not required to have a bank interfering with what it is you're trying to do, you get to eliminate custodial fees. So more of your money goes towards working for you. Lower contributions. $7,000 or $8,000, depending on your age, you're able to contribute into an IRA. I still don't understand why we're doing that. Whereas a 401k, the contribution limits are much higher, and we'll dig into it. No leverage capability. If you wanted money out of your IRA prior to retirement age, you cannot get it without it being a taxable or penalizable event. Whereas with a 401k, you're able to take a loan. And one other piece here, this is also, you can multiply it by 2. Meaning if you have a spouse, this is also double what you're able to do inside of an account like this. And again, as I mentioned, IRA, individual retirement account, you can have one. you can have one, and also your spouse can have one as well. But that means double the custodial fees. Whereas with a 401k, you can commingle funds in the same account. UBIT. If you don't understand what UBIT means, you have not spent enough time on this channel. If you are an investor in any form, whether it's real estate, land, REIT, subject to, self-storage, crypto coin, it doesn't matter. If you are an investor and you're used to using other people's money, you need to understand UBIT. And the short of it is UBIT applies to an IRA. UBIT does not apply to a 401k. And that is like getting a 35 to 37% increase in your profit by just having a 401k. And again, we talk about UBIT a lot. We will dig into it further, but not today. Income limitations, LLC. In order to have an IRA again is just a glorified savings account. It requires an LLC in order for you to have checkbook control. Some people call it an IRA LLC. Whereas with the 401k, because it's a trust, it has its own EIN number. Income limitations. If you make too much, you can't even contribute that $7,000 to $8,000. Whereas with the 401k, doesn't matter. And this is a new one. This one isn't normally in this list. I added it, about 2 weeks ago when we did a live about how you can invalidate your IRA. IRAs are impacted by prohibited transactions, and this is huge. And usually when I'm educating a room stating it as prohibited transactions impact both of these the same way. And the truth is, that is not the case. Prohibited transactions are not, or 401ks are not impacted by prohibited transactions, which means there's a lot of flexibility in a vehicle like this to allow you to do whatever you want. So the reason we're talking about a 401k is because of its flexibility and the ability to leverage, the ability to use it without having being impacted by tax and penalty. And then in addition, how do we create our self-directed 401k? What does it look like? How does that process work? Well, if you were impacted by some type of layoff, or you've decided to transition from one company to another to do bigger and better things, you have a previous employer plan sitting out there waiting to go to work. So the idea is you will take this previous employer plan and you will move it into a new self-directed 401k. Because that 401k has its own EIN number, we take that EIN number, which is just a social security number for a business. We take that EIN number, open up a checking account, and guess what? Now you're able to move the funds from that previous employer plan into that 401k, and you have direct control to be able to invest in what you want, penalty-free, tax-free, to be able to grow your investments and get them out of the stock market. So that's how. And as I was talking about advantages as it relates or over an IRA, one of the biggest advantages is the contribution limits, the ability to put, what is that, 23 plus 46, $69,000 if you're under the age of 50, compared to, what is that, 76,500 if you're over the age of 50, compared to 7,000 and 8,000. I still don't understand. Well, I do understand. Why are we still talking about an IRA? We're still talking about an IRA because someone benefits from you having this product other than you. The reason most custodians advertise IRAs is because they get to nickel and dime you with fees. Whereas with the 401k, you have the ability to eliminate those things. But again, we won't get into that. And then, as I mentioned, this is a channel about leverage. Where is your leverage? You've just been laid off. You've transitioned to a different position at a different job. You've decided that you want to now take action and transition from being a W-2 employee to actually having more control and becoming an entrepreneur. Focusing on what your purpose is, and being less dependent upon having someone else have control over your time. Where is your leverage? Well, in this transition, as traumatic as it might be, you have an opportunity to leverage 50% of what's in your 401k up to $50,000. So what that means is if you have $200,000 sitting in your previous employer plan, you can't leverage $100,000, which would be 50%. The max you can leverage is up to, you can leverage 50% of what's in it up to $50,000. And again, if you and your spouse both have previous employer plans, that's times 2, meaning that's not just $50,000, it's actually $100,000. And what are those steps? Like, how do we go about it? Oh, go ahead, sweetheart.
Well, I was just going to say, like
let's not skip past that, because
I move fast.
for some people, this is, they want to be able to make a confident decision in moving jobs, right?
Right.
They want to know that everything's going to be okay. Just being financially stable and knowing that you have access to leverage in your own leverage, right? You don't have to qualify for this.
Right.
So there's a lot of things there. That's the part. Being, especially if this is something where you and a spouse have qualified funds that you can commingle, which is one of my favorite things about a self-directed 401k. You can commingle your funds. Now you have even more leverage. And so how many families could that be helping if you were right in the middle of circumstance in life, like regardless of what your situation is, right? Like, how does it not help you sleep better at night knowing that, you know what? I can leverage. So everything's going to be okay. How do you do it? That's where we're going to go through an example of how do you do that? What does this loan mean? How do you pay it back?
Right.
All of those things. Mm-hmm. So I'm eager. If you have questions about this process, though, please let us know. But I just didn't want to skip over that part and how powerful it is for people who are looking for that peace of mind factor, during this time.
And what I appreciate about my wife so much is she knows I'm a snowball rolling down a mountain. Once I get momentum, I just go because it's in my head and now it just needs to come out. And I think you're right. Taking a moment to slow down, pause, and emphasize the power of this piece here is quite important. And I 100% agree with you. So,
all right.
All right. And so what does that look like, though? We're talking about a penalty-free, tax-free loan that it doesn't matter your age. Most people think that, hey, because I am 45 and I just changed jobs, I can't leverage my previous employer plan because I'll be taxed and penalized because I'm not 59 and a half. And 59 and a half plays no role in you being able to leverage your retirement dollars to be able to do whatever you want. Now, here's the beauty about being 59 and a half, though. If you are 59 and a half, in most cases, you can go beyond just leverage, because if you have a W-2 job with an employer and you are over the age of 59 and a half, you can actually go to that employer and say, hey, I want to move my current retirement account, even though I still work there, I want to move my current retirement account into another qualified plan so that I have more control over it. So that is the power of being 59 and a half, but don't let that age scare you in thinking that you can't access your dollars if you needed to. So we do want to, and this is going to be a fairly quick example, we do want to walk through an example around what this looks like and how this process works. And again, I move fast. So the best thing you can do is drop a question in the chat and I will be happy to answer. But we are going to blow by this because in my mind, this is quite self-explanatory. So I'm curious if anyone does have any questions. That is, so gentleman's 38. He's leaving his current employer for whatever reason, whether it's he got laid off, he was impacted by all of the tech companies that are laying off, he's a part of that 87,000 or not. Doesn't matter. He's got about $150,000 sitting in a 401k that he's looking to do something with. And again, 38 years of age, so fairly young. You know how we start these conversations. It's what's the goal? What's the objective? Why are we here? Why are we having this discussion? You're on my calendar for a reason, and it's not to do velocity banking. It's not to do infinite banking. It's not because you want some type of properly structured cash value life insurance product. You have a goal. What's the goal? And in his case, he wants to leverage some of his retirement dollars, and he wants to put them to work for him. Where has his retirement dollars been tied up to date? They've been in some mutual funds, stocks, and bonds, hopefully doing well. But he's also been impacted by if someone sneezes in the market, if Elon Musk says something stupid, if we all of a sudden go through an election year and we change administrations, what happens with his retirement dollars? He has no control over any of that. So he wants the control so that he can have his money working for him. In addition, he wants to shift towards focusing on putting his money in a position for his own business. And ultimately focus on his purpose. Instead of doing what most of us do, we do our W-2 job, we focus our attention on our W-2 job, and we've got our side hustle. We've got this thing that we're doing on the side that, yeah, it may or may not be making us income, but we really haven't given it our 100% focus. Why? Time is a factor. Like a lot of us don't. We're married, got kids, got other responsibilities. We don't have the time to be able to do so. In some cases, maybe this layoff is now giving you an opportunity to be able to focus your attention elsewhere. And also, he wants to be placed in a position to where he does not have someone else dictating when he can or cannot retire. He wants to be placed in a position to where he can fire his job when he's ready. So it's ultimately taking control, getting self-directed is the objective. So it starts here. And again, look at it from the position of what if he was laid off? He now has the ability of that $150,000 to take a $50,000 personal loan. 50% of what's in his $150,000 401k up to $50,000. So the max he can take is 50. And again, imagine being laid off. You're telling me now I'm going to pick up more debt? I'm going to take a $50,000 loan that I have to pay back. Wait a minute, I just got laid off. I don't have income coming in. Yeah, I might have gotten a severance package or 2-3 months of income that was paid out to me as a check. And and by the way, that severance package is going to be after taxes. So just because you got 3 months worth of income, that's 3 months worth of income minus the taxes. So it's not the number you think it's going to be. But you're now telling me I'm going to pick up another $50,000 of debt? Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. But notice, you have control over how you can use this $50,000. What if you take $40,000 of it and you use it to bridge the gap? And that bridging that gap can mean a lot of things. This is not the all-inclusive list. That et cetera is there for a reason, because this list can be infinitely long. But the bottom line is, if you got laid off tomorrow and $40,000 showed up in your checking account, does that help?
Well, that's a loaded question, actually. And I would love to hear what everyone else thinks too. But that's a loaded question because $40,000 that's taxable does make a difference. Right. It could push you into the next tax bracket. Right. And for some people, that is what these severance packages do.
Right.
They're more, I don't know how much you get to keep out of it, right? So sometimes it's bittersweet in that way. Whereas obviously you don't pay taxes on borrowed money.
That's the part.
Yeah.
It's $50,000 free and clear. It doesn't show up on your credit report. It's not something that you now owe taxes on. And again, the way I've structured this is this. Oh, you're still there. The way I've structured this is this. Taking $40,000, using it to bridge whatever that gap might be. But what do you do with that remaining 10? And again, this is something you get to dictate. This isn't Donnell's version. This is you've got $50,000 and you get to use it how you see fit. Well, what I have here is, what if you then take $10,000 of that $50,000 and use it to make your monthly payments back to your 401k for the next 12 months? So you just picked up $40,000 free and clear, and the monthly payment is already paid for. And again, this is all based off math, because the numbers that I show here is very intentional. What I'm saying is, if you got 50K, and let's say you charge yourself 5%. 5% of 50K is what? $2,500? And this is the loan. So you borrowed this money, and it costs you, again, 5% is what you're charging yourself. You've got this loan over 5 years, that's 60 months. So $2,500 divided by 60 months plus your $50,000, meaning you've got $52,500 divided by that 5-year period, or 60 months. Oh, you can't even see that, can you? My bad. My point is, what does that math turn out to be if you're able to, again, set these terms yourself, take that $2,500 of interest, add that to the principal, divide that by 60 months? What does that math add up to be? It adds up to be $875 a month over 5 years. What's $875 times 12? It's specifically $10,500, which means I've got $10,000 available set aside to make this monthly payment back to my 401k, which means I owe nothing for the next 12 months. So now I've got $40,000 free and clear to do what? I can pay bills. I can put it towards my business. I can focus on marketing. I can use it to live. I can use it to help me transition from the job I just left to my new contractor position or 40-hour-a-week job. Or maybe I've decided I'm not going back. So I'm going to spread this 40,000 over the next 12 months to make sure I can do what's necessary in my household so that I can get my business off the ground. Where else are you going to get this? And I didn't have to qualify for it. I didn't have to ask for it. I didn't have to go to a bank. No one qualified. No one ran my credit. I dictated what's happening here. And notice, I chose 50%. I'm sorry. I chose a 5% interest rate. Could I have chosen something less?
Okay, the other part of this is for anybody who has just recently purchased a home.
Oh yeah.
This part right here I think is devastating for families who are going, yeah, all of this is great. We got a new house, we're moving along, we're upgrading our lifestyle, and then a layoff hits.
Right. Scary.
And for some people it's even strategizing in their wealth creation plan. They have maybe invested some of their funds into a plan or a strategy, and then they lose their job. Like we hear of this happening sometimes, and people go, gosh, this life event happened. I now have to put everything else on pause while I figure out, like, it's down to the bare minimum, right? Well, how could somebody utilize those in these types of instances, and what extra benefits could come about for those who might be in the process of buying a home, or it might be one parent is going to be a stay-at-home parent and now they have this previous employer. There's a lot of different ways that this could be made up. So what are some of those benefits?
Yeah, and there's so many angles here, because again, what if this is multiplied by 2? What if it's not 50,000? It's 100,000, which means if I'm going to do 5% on each, it's not 10,000 I'm pulling back, it's 20,000, which means now as a household, we've got 80 grand available to leverage and use for bills. Again, household needs. But I think the point where you were going was, if you're using these dollars towards the purchase of a primary residence, what we're talking here is you have 5 years to pay back this 50 grand in the state that it's currently being used. But if you were to use this 50,000, or in some cases 100, and you were using it to purchase a primary residence, it's not a 5-year payback period. It's now a 15-year payback period. So now divide the use of this dollar amount by 15. That is your monthly payment. So, and I think you bring up a great point, because if you are using double, it's not I have to pull out 20 grand to pay for that interest. We're now talking about something like 5 grand in total, because you're able to spread this debt out along a much longer period of time. So therefore, you have a faster recuperation period, and you're able to pay it back faster, which again, it just becomes another place for leverage to be able to put yourself in a position to do things that you could not do otherwise if you did not have access to this information.
Okay, you said if you are using it in the state that it's in, but right. For some people, they might go, well, what if I move to a different state? So what do you mean by that?
Okay. And when I say, I'm talking, if we're using it as this $50,000 to, again, bridge a gap, pay bills, buy inventory, marketing, sustain a lifestyle, etc. Meaning if you're using it outside of purchasing a primary residence, you have 5 years to pay it back. But if you use it specifically for the purchase of a primary residence, and I do not mean rehab a kitchen. I do not mean turn your master bedroom into an oasis. I'm saying if you're using this dollar amount to purchase a primary residence, it goes from a 5-year payback period to a 15-year payback period. So that's what I meant by state.
We have some questions about.
If this is a good time, let's do it.
It really is. Some of these are really great questions. Okay. Yeah. So the first one that I'm going to pull up here is from Veronica. She wanted to know, can you purchase a vehicle using the self-directed 401k in the company's name? So let's say you are transitioning to starting a business. Can you use some of those funds, not the borrowed funds, or do you have to use a loan for this type of thing? Can you explain more about that?
So I'm gonna go around the circle, but I am going to answer the question.
Okay.
Well, I'll start here. Short answer to the question is yes. Yes, you can. Yes, you can use these funds. There are no limitations on what these funds can be used for. That's why I went, I'd be here all day if I listed what the opportunities are. So could you buy a vehicle? Absolutely. Can you use can you buy a personal vehicle? You can buy a personal vehicle. You can buy a vehicle for the business. But how about this? The piece that we don't normally talk about is, what about the interest on the loan? Is the interest on the loan tax deductible? And in most cases, the answer is yes. Now, it depends on what you're spending this dollar amount on. But in a lot of cases, I can identify, there's about 10 of them that just jumped into my head, that this, in a lot of cases, this $50,000 and how it's being used is also tax deductible. So when you're using it for your businesses, there's other tax opportunities there as well. So hopefully that answered.
Yep. Okay. One more. We have Ty wants to know, can you borrow from a 401k if you are not currently employed with the employer who provided that 401k?
And that's the part. This process is absolutely about leveraging and or using a previous employer plan, meaning that that company that you used to work for is sitting here. We would transition that dollar amount from that previous employer into your new self-directed 401k. Because you no longer work here, that's actually your retirement account. Because you no longer work here, you have full control over how and where to use this dollar amount. So can you? Absolutely. You can. Matter of fact, they have no control over saying whether you can or can't. You dictate that. Now, what's cool is they allow you to keep it where it is, but they're not doing you a favor. What's happening with your retirement dollar sitting at your previous employer is it's still being eaten up by fees. There's management fees that's coming out of this account, and the more and more it sits there, the more and more they take. And on top of that, because you left the employer, that management fee 9 times out of 10 is higher than it was when you worked for the company. Let's use simple numbers. It may have been 1% when you worked for that company, but it's probably 1.5% now, meaning on every dollar sitting in that account, they make 1.5% whether you make money or not. And so what we would do is transition it to that new 401k, which would give you checkbook control over it. So can you? Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, Wendy wants to know, can you use the self-directed funds to purchase real estate investments?
Absolutely. And what prompted us to want to even kind of discuss this today, what prompted us to kind of talk through it is, I was sitting in a room over these past few days in Provo, Utah. It was a Chris Crone event. And it's I'll call it a very intellectual group, very much focused on leverage and using dollars to be able to invest in real estate. And when I was asking simple questions around previous employer plans, because again, I focus on leverage. They're using money out of their checking account to be able to invest in real estate. Awesome. But what about the rest of your leverage? So can you use these leverageable dollars to be able to do that? But how about this? This is just a small portion of that $150,000, right? This gentleman has $150,000. The max he can borrow and use is $50,000. So this is what he has personally. What about the remaining $100,000? That remaining $100,000 can absolutely go towards a non-traditional investment. What I mean by non-traditional investment is it does not have to just go in mutual funds, stocks, and bonds. He could buy crypto. He could buy gold, buy silver. He can invest in real estate, land, REITs, subject to, self-storage, you name it. It's unlimited in what he's capable of being able to invest in. And that's not the $50,000. That's the remaining $100,000. So there are an unlimited list of options available to you. Great question. Anything else? Good. So I want to kind of jump ahead now. And so let's fast forward. Let's fast forward to, let me make this a little bit bigger. Fast forward to, okay, he's leveraged his dollar amount. The business is doing good. But what tends to happen with those of us who jump into this entrepreneurial space, especially when it comes to leveraging retirement dollars? We've got this self-directed 401k. I leverage the dollars I've used it to start my business. My business is now doing well. What do most entrepreneurs, not just solo entrepreneurs, but what do most entrepreneurs in general do with the income that they make in their business? Where does most of the profit made inside of businesses go? In most cases, it goes back into the business. So here's what I'm getting at. You've leveraged your retirement dollars to be able to make your business successful. It's now successful. And now you're actually making a profit. And instead of taking some of that profit, taking some of that income and putting it back into the 401k, you put it back into the business. Why? You will never be in this situation again. It's almost paranoia. I need to focus. I need to make sure all of my income goes back into my business because I want to make sure my business is successful. Right? Oh, Bring it down? We good? So what I want to talk through is if the objective is to contribute to your 401k, but what happens if you don't have the cash to do so? What happens if there's no liquidity in your business to be able to contribute to your 401k? Why? All of your income is going back into your business. Well, why is this even an option? Why is this even a thought? Why do I care about contributing to your 401k? What is the benefit to you contributing to your 401k? Well, you remember those contribution limits, right? Contribution limits for you being under 50 is what? Is it $69,000? And contribution limits if you're over 50 is what? 30,500 plus another 46, so 76,500. There's an opportunity to contribute. What is that? Somewhere between 69K and 76K into your retirement account. If you do that, this is where you tax shelter dollars. So what that means is this is an opportunity for you to reduce the tax liability of your business by almost on average $70,000. So why wouldn't you take the opportunity to reduce your taxable liability? But if I have no cash, how do I do that? Well, most people don't know and or realize you have the ability to not just borrow against your retirement account, again, for 50% of what's in it, up to $50,000, but you can also take that borrowed dollar amount and contribute it as contribution into your 401k. You follow what I'm saying here? Imagine $50,000 that you've just borrowed from your 401k. You are now able to contribute that same $50,000 as a contribution back into the 401k. What just happened when you do that? If I borrowed $50,000 today and I take that $50,000 and I contribute it back into the 401k, I just reduced my taxable income $50,000 using a loan that is not a part of my income. Does that make, because I don't know that I'm making sense to myself. Does that make sense? Again, you're borrowing $50,000 from your 401k, right? You borrow $50,000 from the 401k. Then you contribute that $50,000 back to the same 401k. Because the $50,000 you borrowed is not seen as taxable income, you've just reduced your tax burden by $50,000 using a dollar that wasn't accounted for in as taxable income, which you have the capability of doing. But how? How do you go about it? How is this process even possible? We've covered this many times on how to borrow against your 401k, what those steps look like, what those rules are. If you have an opportunity, scan this QR code. Or what I've learned about Apple phones is you can take a picture of, you can just simply snap a picture of the QR code, and you can actually scan it from your pictures. I didn't know that.
Wow, look at you.
I didn't know. I know now. Old lady at the event this weekend told me about it.
Wow,
So,
really?
yeah, ageism. I get it. That
wow.
But that's what she was. And she made it a point to go, hey, I'm super, I'm way outside your age group, but I understand how to do these things and you don't. I was like,
yeah, she schooled you.
She got me. But anyway,
respect.
Point is, if you're wanting to understand how you can leverage from your retirement account to be able to do these things, it's not me telling you what you can do. It's what the IRS is saying you can do, just so we're clear. And
wait, I want to ask really quick because there were some comments in the chat like, hey, excuse me, sir, could you slow down? That was was a fire hose.
I know.
How does this work? Why can you do that? And you're saying, well, here, you can go read in the IRS why you can do that. That to me sounds like I would love to fact check what you're saying by looking it up in there. Mm-hmm. But I also want you to explain it to me like I'm 5. So can you do that for the people in the room who tried to get all of that information in, but it wouldn't. Yeah.
Well, a couple things.
We need a single file in. Okay.
Couple
things.
You guys, I think
that
if you could also throw the banner up there that says, hey, get on my calendar.
Okay.
If this is something that you want to know more about and better understand, the easiest thing to do is jump on my calendar and we can get all of those questions answered pretty easily. And although I still move pretty fast on the calls as well. I apologize all the time because it's not a goal of mine to fire hose information. It's just how it comes in is how it goes out. So It just is what it is. But anyway, how is this even possible? So let's start here. With having a 401k, the 401k that I'm referencing, a self-directed 401k, also called a solo 401k, is no different than the 401k that you have with your company. Meaning everything that I'm saying is capable inside of a solo 401k or a self-directed 401k is absolutely capable with your company. So first question is, why is that? Why don't I hear about this when I'm sitting in that cafeteria signing up for my 401k? I don't even know if they still do that. They used to bring everyone to the cafeteria and drop these papers on your desk on the table, and you fill them out, and you just signed up for your 401k and didn't really understand why. I don't know if they still do that. But my point is, why don't I know this? And it's because the reason you aren't able to do this with your current company's retirement account is because your current company has chosen not to allow it. It's not that the vehicle isn't capable. It's not that you already don't have the access to or capability to do it. It's just that your 401k with the company that you work for is not your 401k. It is owned by the company that you work for. So that's step one. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. Rabbit hole.
Why? It is a rabbit hole, but it's one worth going down, because why is this a thing? Why do they make so many rules around this? First of all, one of the most common mistakes that we were talking about and people make during this transitional period is that they just roll over into the new employer's plan.
Right, blindly.
Not understanding, what does it mean when you do that, and how does the employer benefit? Why would that be? Is that just a win for you so that it's convenient and everything's in one place? It seems that way. But then when you learn, when you pull the curtain back, right? When you peel back the layers on this, who is in charge? Who now benefits from that transaction happening? What is launched at that moment when all of these people start coming in from these higher paying jobs? They already have these previous employer plans that they're now rolling over into their system. When you start to see how they qualify for better fees, they don't pass that savings on to you, they get tax breaks and they get kickbacks for all of those types of things. And then the amount of people that are then deployed because of the size of the amount of funds that they're managing, right? So let's say they were only managing this amount of funds. Then people came in with their previous employer plans, right? They now have this, right? Exactly. And so now there's got to be more people assigned. So what they call it is, you've got more support.
Right.
You got more support. That's it. But you got to pay for that support. Who's paying for that support, right? So now on top of that, where you had your plan with one employer, you're paying a certain amount of fees for that to be managed there after you leave, which could be a different team that gets assigned, right? Which is why it could end up costing more. Then you roll it over. They don't tell you what the fees are. They don't tell you that now we're getting more support because we have doubled the amount of money that we're managing. So now we have all this support, which then has to be paid for. So on top of that, if the market drops, if these funds aren't performing the way that benefit you, it doesn't really matter, because they've all already received the benefit.
That's it.
And the IRS doesn't come back and say, okay, well, hold on a second. You got the benefit, but now if the market dropped, you got to pay it back. That's not a thing. And this is why we're so passionate about becoming self-directed, because you now have the control to invest in what you want when you want. You don't have to ask anyone for permission. If you see an opportunity or an opportunity is presented to you, you're not waiting for somebody else to sign off on it, right? And having to explain to somebody else. This could even just be a life event or emergency, right? Could be anything that's happening, but you have control over your funds in this way and the ability to invest in non-traditional investments. But we're not done yet, because you're going to tell them why it's important that they know this now, especially if you think that you might be going through this transition. If you've been debating this transition, if you're looking to reduce your taxable income for this year, if any of these things apply to you and you're looking for, how can I leverage an account like this? Do I qualify for an account like this? Some of these are nice to knows, what we talked about. I think some of these are nice to know. Some of these are powerful notes to take down. But this next part, and why right now, before the end of the year is super important to get this information and to get it established even more significant. So
what I also find interesting about what you stated, though, is what did you just walk through? You walked through how these new custodians are leveraging your retirement dollars. All they're doing is doing what you have the same capability of doing. No one just educated us on how to do it. When you move your retirement account from Fidelity over to Vanguard, meaning your old company had Fidelity as the custodian, you just moved them over to Vanguard with your new custodian. You just gave Vanguard a new dollar amount to leverage. You have that same ability. You have the same control they do. Well, it's just that you haven't been educated to do so. Go ahead.
Yeah, your custodian does matter, and that's not something that if your job is in healthcare, let's just say, for instance, if you're working at Boeing, right? If you're you're in,
I should not have to be a
who else is
subject
on
matter
there?
expert.
Tesla,
Ford,
Best
Amazon,
Buy.
Best Buy, Walmart.
Okay, yeah. If you're working at one of these companies, the last thing you're thinking is, you know what I'm going to do on my weekends? I'm going to become a retirement plan expert and really study my retirement plan.
Yep.
Like, who's doing that?
And that's the other part. It's because
Well,
we talk a lot.
How about this? Everybody tuning in is actually doing that, and you're taking control by learning. But the majority of people are not going, I want to know how my employer-based plan works, and I'm going to go read the fine print. If you're going to be taking the time to learn, then we better be putting some keys in your hands so that you could drive your own vehicle, right? That you could be in the driver's seat. And that's really the point. There is no power in just learning how you're being taken advantage of or how much in fees you're paying, right? Regardless of if you win or lose. It's just how the house is benefiting off of you playing in their casino. That's really what it is. I'm not trying to be negative. I really am trying to do better about just harping on the negative stuff, but
these are facts.
Yeah, it is facts.
And I wish, because, man, the number of conversations I have with people around how a properly structured cash value life insurance policy works, and because of this channel, because we dig into the details, they want to know fees. What are the fees? What are the fees? How does my money work for me? What does it look like when I turn 70? Why don't we ask these same questions of our traditional retirement accounts? Why don't we know what the fee structure looks like? Why can't our financial advisor point to the page where it breaks down how I put in $500 this month, but of that $500, only $275 are working for me because the breakdown of the fee structure. Why don't we know these things? Or why don't we at least expect to ask these questions?
Oh, hold on, incoming. Gabo says, this idea to get a loan from your self-directed 401k and add contributions back to shelter taxes, it seems very similar to what we do with the IULs, but only difference is that the loan does leave the balance, right?
That's right. So you're absolutely correct. And if I've got 150 in my self-directed 401k and I borrow 50, there is no longer 150 sitting in my 401k. But here's the cool part. This is the only loan that when you pay it back, who are you actually paying back? In this case, you're paying back yourself. And as you pay it back, you get to leverage it again. And as I mentioned, if you do it right, you can structure so that the loan can actually pay it back on its own. You can borrow the 50, use 10 to pay back a year of the loan, which means you have it free and clear. So now you get to grow it, double it, quadruple it, whatever that dollar amount is, and you've just had this dollar amount free and clear interest-wise. So it's a game changer. But the process, though, what does it look like? Let's say I've got my, what's up? I heard a laugh.
Hold on. Nathan. Hi, Nathan, by the way. Nathan says, my employer had no idea how their 401k worked.
And why would they? HR is not there to manage your 401k. You know who has an idea of how your 401k works? The custodian that it's sitting with. Fidelity, Vanguard, Edward Jones. They understand it. But 9 times out of 10, it's a partnership between the company you work for and that custodian. And the custodian has done the bait and switch with that company. And we all have no clue as to what that fee structure looks like. None whatsoever. 100%. So, and again, this is what it looks like. You would, again, create a promissory note to yourself. for the amount that you're investing in. And again, we've covered this a lot. I can go into more detail at another date. I just wanted to kind of just highlight this document is not a document that was provided to you. This is a document that you create, and it's signed by two people. You as the receiver of the loan, and you as the trustee of the 401k who created the promissory note for the loan. And once that's done, it goes, again, the dollar amount that you receive out of your 401k as a loan, you are able to contribute right back to that 401k, which is now reducing your tax burden for the year. So imagine this being a year where you got laid off. You weren't able to contribute to your 401k, but there's an opportunity to reduce your tax burden based off that severance package that you received that pushed you into another tax bracket. Here's an opportunity to pull yourself back down from that tax bracket by being able to leverage from your previous employer plan and depositing it right back into your 401k as a contribution. It's pretty powerful. But it gets even better. What if, let me move over there. What if you didn't have cash to contribute, nor did you want to borrow the money from your 401k? You can actually contribute an asset into your 401k. And this is, I'll call it, we're kind of reverting back a few weeks where we were talking about the potential of invalidating your self-directed IRA, and we walked through an example where I bought a property personally, and because I gave my personal guarantee in purchasing that property, I then moved that property from where it was into the LLC that was owned by my self-directed IRA, caused the invalidation of my IRA. It looked a little bit looked a little bit like this, if you remember. Whereas, hey, I bought it, and I gave my personal guarantee in the contract, and then I quit claim deeded right into my self-directed IRA, and I caused a whole lot of problems. But with the 401k, none of this applies. With the 401k, it doesn't matter. Meaning, you could do this exact same opportunity. You can buy this property personally, and you can take this property and actually contribute it into your 401k. Now, the quick claim deed that we talked about in the example 2 weeks ago was we did it for about $10. But couldn't you, again, I get it, it's a property. It's a property that's probably worth $300,000. You can contribute that $69K into your 401k using the property. Now, why would you do that?
Yeah, why?
Yeah, there's some layers here. So let's kind of dig into some of those layers. So when I'm talking about contributing to your 401k and contributing a property into your 401k.
Well, I have an idea.
Go ahead,
why don't we have, because Wendy was in here asking about real estate. I'm sure somebody's watching who has an example. So if you have an example of a property that you have, then let's use your example. So I'll give them some time to jump in the chat, but we would love to give realistic examples.
No problem. Let me get some of this stuff out of the way real quick. All right, there we go. I can make it bigger. Okay. So, thank you. So how does this work? So again, I'm being very, very straightforward. You can contribute an asset into your 401k, but there are some rules. But let's just step through an example real quick. Let's say I've got a $300,000 rental property. That rental property has to be free and clear, meaning I own it outright. I'm still getting the rental income, so I'm still making a profit, but there's no mortgage on this property. As long as there's no mortgage on this property, here's why I bring this up. I've got a gentleman that I'm working with right now. I just completed a leveraged IUL for his wife. He's older, so he doesn't necessarily qualify. I just completed a leveraged IUL for his wife, and he wants a self-directed 401k. The problem is he doesn't have any income because he has a lot of rental properties, and those rental properties bring him a lot of revenue, but that revenue is not income. Rental properties do, unless you're in the business of real estate, rental properties provide profit. That is not taxable income. And so therefore, if you're talking about contributing your a property into your 401k, there can't be any debt. In addition, the property has to be appraised. So again, just using round numbers, if it's a property worth $300,000. But what are the contribution limits? The contribution limits are far less than $300,000. Why would I contribute a property that's worth $300,000 into a 401k that the max that I can put into it is 69 or 76.5? Well, when you retitle it, meaning when you quit claim deeded the property into your 401k, the 401k now not only owns the property, but it owns the full property. So therefore, yeah, I can only contribute $76,000 this year, but guess what I can do next year? Since I haven't contributed the full amount into my 401k, I can contribute another $76,000 next year. And guess what I can do the year after that? Another $76,000. And if over this 3-year period, the property has now, the new appraisal value is not $300,000, but now it's $400,000, I can continue contributing this $76,000 or whatever the contribution limit is into my 401k until it's fully liquidated. Meaning I can move this entire property one contribution period at a time into this 401k. And what does that do long term to my business? I am taking the tax benefit of this contribution for the next 5-6 years or however long it takes. My point is there are so many opportunities here that we just don't discuss. And just so we're clear, you can do none of this in an IRA. And last piece is you do have to retitle it. So again, you do have to reassign the ownership of this property from you personally to your 401k. And the last piece, you have to update the plan docs. What are you responsible for in this list? Well, making sure it's no debt, that's you. Making sure it's appraised properly, that's you. But the retitle, the reassign, and the updating of the plan documents, that's something that I could actually assist with you to create. So if this is something that you're wanting to be able to do, the easiest thing to do is to jump on my calendar and let's talk about it. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Nathan has a question, and I think it's a great question. So, question, no debt on the property, meaning no lien holder. Can a HELOC on the be on the property with a zero balance?
No. So that because in this case, if you have no mortgage, the line of credit, what's in first position? The line of credit would be in first position, so there is still debt on the property. So no HELOC, no mortgage. You own it outright now. You can still be receiving the rental income. And I think there's an example. Oh no, I didn't have the example. So is it not? Did I jump past it? Oh, no, that's right. There was no example for this one. So, yeah. So, the moral of the story is there are 2 ways that you can contribute to your 401k that maybe you weren't aware of. Again, you got laid off. You leveraged your retirement account to be able to get your business on board. Your business is now on board, and now you're looking to be able to contribute to your retirement account. But like most entrepreneurs, there's no cash to do so. You can borrow against your 401k, contribute that to your 401k. You can also contribute assets into your 401k. So there are many ways to doing it. But I do want to cover one major question that I know I am going to get. And this is a consistent question that I get all the time. For my real estate investors, those of you who only have rental income, in most cases, because I'm dealing with this right now with a gentleman, he has a gang of rentals, and those rentals are producing a significant amount of income. But that doesn't mean he can have a 401k. Why? Why can't those of us who only have rental income have a 401k? Well, we have to kind of go back here. In order to have a 401k, we move the funds here into that 401k. And again, because of the EIN number, you now have checkbook control. But wait a minute. What does it take to have a 401k? Well, what does it take to have the current 401k you have with your current job? You need a business, meaning there needs to be a sponsor. In order to have a 401k, there needs to be a sponsor. That sponsor can be any C Corp, any LLC, any S Corp, any sole proprietorship. So if all I have is rental income, I don't have a C Corp, an LLC, S Corp, and I'm not a sole proprietor, I can't have a 401k. And the conversation I was having with this gentleman, again, he has a lot of rentals. We just completed a leverage IUL for his wife, so he's got capital upon capital. but he cannot qualify for a 401k because he doesn't have a business. So I asked a very simple question. What's the goal? And he was very specific. My goal is to be able to get these funds in here. Why? He wants to be able to take advantage of the fact that he has a significant amount of rental income, so he wants to be able to grow a tax-sheltered vehicle, maybe even a Roth vehicle, so that he can produce tax-free income for the rest of his life. Like, it's about generating and building wealth. So how do you solve this problem? This is a really easy problem to solve, and it looks like this. Meaning, using the income, I guess I'll do that and do that. Using the income generated by the rentals, he can pay a management company. And notice this handshake. This looks like it's a handshake between two people, two different people. It's not. I'm saying this gentleman, as the owner of these rentals, with this rental income, can now create a management company, which he is the what? The manager of. So use the income from his rentals, create an LLC, a management company, and now what are you going to pay the management company? You want to pay the management company just enough to max out the 401k. So you might have to gross it up. What that means is if the contribution limit is $69,000, you don't want to pay the management company $69,000. You want to pay the management company maybe $72,000. Which means I pay the property management company $72. I put in the contribution amount of $69. The difference between $72 and $69, I'm going to pay taxes on $3,000. But what did I just do? I just reduced my tax liability by paying my management company the same dollar that I'm going to contribute into my 401k, now creating a tax sheltered vehicle that now I can take this dollar amount and do whatever I want. All it takes is this piece right here. Go ahead, sweetheart.
I was just going to ask, because for some people, this property or the properties that they could be acquiring could not just be investments that they have made with their own dollars. These could also be inherited properties. Absolutely. Too, right?
You bring up a very, very, very important point. This is such a large transfer of wealth that we're headed into that a lot of the calls that I'm getting is, I've got this situation that I didn't create, and I'm trying to understand how to leverage this situation that I have to be able to do something with. So you're absolutely correct. A conversation I had, I want to say it was just Tuesday, was a young lady who inherited an IRA from her parents, and she just wanted to know, can I self-direct it? You absolutely can self-direct an inherited IRA. What you can't do is convert it into a 401k, but my point is you have options available to you. So no, you bring up a very, very important point is a lot of times, a lot of this situation is a situation we're being placed in, so we don't necessarily understand what levers can be pulled to be able to take action. Moral of the story is for my individuals out here with the rental income who are thinking that they cannot have a self-directed 401k, this is the piece that's missing. You want to create a management company because, again, you are wearing many hats here. You are the owner, you are the manager, and you are the trustee. Meaning, you are the same, you are different individuals in each one of these situations, but you are commingling funds in this situation amongst them all. Meaning you as the owner of the rental property are paying income to the management company which you own, which allows you to then contribute to a self-directed 401k, penalty-free, tax-free.
I can't stop laughing because all I'm thinking about right now is, can I speak to the manager? Those skits where they like go behind the counter and come back up.
Right.
I am the manager.
I am the manager.
And I'm the trustee. Yeah.
I own it all. And with a self-directed 401k, I'm also protected. I'm protected against creditors. This is a not just a tax-sheltered vehicle from the perspective of I'm paying less in income taxes, but it's also a sheltered vehicle that prevents me from being able to anyone else to come after my hard-earned retirement dollars. And I think that's the biggest piece for this client is he's got a lot of rental income, but he's feeling exposed. And so here's an opportunity to take this rental income and get it into a vehicle that allows him to be less exposed. I think, yep. So what's the moral of the story here? The point is, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, but this is the greatest time of the year for business to be able to put themselves in the position to get back in the black. And what that means is you may be negatively impacted by that. And you may be impacted from the perspective of you may end up losing your job or get laid off. Here's an opportunity to take this tragic moment and understand where your leverage is located so that you can right this ship. Whether it's leveraging your previous employer plan to be able to pay bills, bridge the gap between the job you just left to the job that you're going to get, or maybe it's an opportunity for you to actually put yourself in a position to become the full entrepreneur that you've been wanting to and go actually achieve your purpose. But you're running out of time. You've got until December 31st to get your 401k created. The cool part about that is that's get it created. That's to become properly structured. But you then have until September of 2025 to contribute to that 401k that was created. Why is this even a thing? It gives you time. It gives you time to be able to make sure, again, if you're going through one of those traumatic moments where I was just laid off, this gives you time to get your house in order. Because you can still, in July of 2025, you can still make that contribution into your 401k for the tax year of 2024. Super impactful. And sweetheart. So you have the ability to contribute in 2025 to reduce your tax liability in 2024. That's, and again, that's unheard of. It's super impactful. And you might be asking, why September of 2025? Like, that sounds kind of weird. Well, let's think about it. The calendar year ends in December 31st. What happens in April? April 15th is when taxes are due. But if you get an extension, that extension is usually made until October of the following year. Well, for self-employed individuals or for business owners, that date is actually September 15th. So it's actually a month prior. So that's the reason it's September, but it's because, again, so there's action that would have to take place here. You would have to make sure that extension is in place before you have that September time frame. But my point is, you don't have to remember any of that. All you have to do is get on my calendar. Get on my calendar and let's talk about it. And sweetheart, that's all I got.
All right, let's start some Q&A.
All right, let's do it.
Here we go.
So just remember, if you're on fire, stop, drop, and roll. One more time. Say it with me now.
Stop, drop, and roll. Do that. Do it like pro. Do that.
All right. And we're back. All right. We have some really great questions, and Mr. Bond has a unique question about Curtis Ray.
Let's go, Mr. Bond.
That I know that you would be happy to answer.
We starting there? Start there.
You want to start there?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Well, Gabo has one that's like on.
Okay, let's not start.
Okay.
Who runs this show?
Just because we were just talking about this, and I know that it's kind of a topic change.
Yeah,
so
let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. Gabo says, would paying the management company $70,000 raise any concerns with the IRS as paying the self-owned company as overpaying the self-owned company as the only way to evade taxes?
Let me make sure I understand it. We're talking about if I'm contributing the maximum amount into my 401k. I think the better question is, how am I able to contribute the maximum amount into my 401k? The only way you're able to do that is if your company is capable of making enough for you to be able to contribute the maximum amount. What do I mean?
What do you mean?
The contribution limits look like this, and I'm going to use under 50. You are able to make what's called an elective contribution for the amount of, $23,000 if I'm under the age of 50. So I can make that $23,000 hands down, no problem. So if my business made $50,000 this year, I can contribute that $23,000 of the $50,000 that my business made, no problem. Okay. But in addition, with the 401k, you're able to do a match. You're able to do a profit share. That profit share, depending on the entity that your business is using, whether it's an LLC, an S Corp, or C Corp, you can contribute an additional 20 to 25% of your income in addition, meaning on top of that 23,000. Well, if your business makes 100,000, you contribute the 23,000. you can contribute an additional, let's say you have an LLC, you can contribute an additional 20% of your income. 20% of 100,000 would be 40,000. So in addition to the 23,000 you've already put in, you can put in an additional 40,000. The max you can contribute is up to 46,000. But you can't contribute the 46,000 because your business only made 100,000. So it ends up being a mathematical equation. Again, there are some, I'm being very general and I'm being very, I'll call it broad in how I am kind of detailing these numbers just so the math makes sense. But my point is what your business makes dictates how much you can actually contribute into your business. So if based off these examples, I'm contributing the max, the assumption that I'm making is the business has the capability of making enough in order for me to contribute the max. And that's the piece that won't be a red flag for the IRS, because in my tax documents, you will see the amount of income that I'm making. You will see the contribution amount, and the math, again, your tax preparer would make sure that the maths around, am I contributing the right amount based off the amount that my business is making? Words.
Okay,
words,
what about
words.
where do catch-up contributions fall into place in?
Yep, catch-up, and that's that part where because I'm over the age of 50, the IRS gave us a little bit more that we're able to contribute based off our age. So because I, Donnell, am over the age of 50 and you, sweetheart, are not, the amount that I am able to contribute, there's an additional $6,500, $7,500 in most cases that I can contribute above you. So that catch-up contribution is saying, hey, because I'm older and maybe I'm starting later, there's a dollar amount, there's an additional dollar amount that I'm able to contribute to allow me to catch up to you.
Yep. And we like that. So that could be a hack for people who have not been actively participating, right? Mm-hmm. Love that. Love that. Okay. Let's see here. We have, okay. So now here we go. Mm-hmm. We have Mr. Bond. He says, there have been videos with litigation lawyers going through the filing from the court on how MPI, Suncor, and Curtis Ray recently received a cease and desist. Can you speak to that?
So
I think that's what we meant here.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Bond?
So there's, let me leave the question up for me because the wording of the question is a bit incorrect. So, what is the name of the group? Is it Better Wealth? I think it's Better Wealth is the show you're talking about. I've watched it, know it very well. Curtis Ray sent them a cease and desist, just so we're clear. And it was, whatever the reasons were, it was Curtis sent a cease and desist. And then Curtis actually went on his podcast to kind of talk through the whys. They're actually pretty decent friends, kind of talk through it. Here's the moral of the story, because there is a court case as well. So the cease and desist was coming from Suncor to that group, just so we're clear. But why? Why is this even a discussion? What happened? What is it about MPI? What is the problem? The issue was MPI was being marketed as the only. MPI was being marketed as the latest and greatest. There's nothing better than. MPI was being marketed as the only thing that you should be doing. Well, when you hear the words only, when you hear the words, and again, just so I'm clear, it was being marketed as. It's not that that's what it is. It was being marketed as. And so there were some financial advisors or that kind of took offense to this product being marketed as it's the only option available. When the truth is, and you've heard it on this channel a lot, MPI, maximum premium indexing, is based on a strategy, and it's a strategy based on premium financing. Premium financing started in 1997. So if premium financing started in 1997 and MPI is a derivative of premium financing, is it new? It's not.
Oh, I think he's saying, okay, go ahead.
And so when you understand the strategy, you understand that MPI is just a leveraged IUL. And because it's just a leveraged IUL, anyone who offers index universal life insurance policies can offer a leveraged IUL. So MPI is not unique. And so the issue was how it was being marketed. And so the case was addressing, hey, these words you're using are certain words can't be used in certain ways. That was the kind of the result of the court case was wording. Hey, don't say only. Don't say this is the product that no one else can do, because that's not true. So, okay, that's what Curtis agreed to do. But notice, no one said anything about the strategy.
Right. Or, the product. Yeah.
Please tell me about what was stated about the strategy. Is the strategy incorrect? If you have an IUL and you add leverage to that IUL, is the strategy wrong? No. Matter of fact, because again, I don't know what podcasts or what shows you have seen, but because there's like maybe four different interviews between this guy and Curtis and detractors. When you look at all of them, no one talks about the strategy. They talk about their relationship or how Curtis makes them feel with the words that are being used, or how things are being promoted and marketed. When you watch this channel and we talk about a leveraged IUL, we're talking about something that can be done anywhere. A better question is, why isn't it done everywhere? If it's
Everywhere.
so great, why doesn't everybody do it?
Well,
Right?
that's kind of the criticism, though, right? I mean, you guys have seen these videos. There's some other people who are like Nathan saying, he's seen them. Life 180. There's other channels that are talking about it, but you're right. Their criticism is more on
Curtis,
on the person,
right?
and the face of the strategy, right?
That's right.
But I have to go back to this, though.
Yeah.
I have to go back and ask, before there became this religion around infinite banking, right? Before Nelson Nash became a lord of infinite banking, and everyone is now following this book. They're using this book like it's a Bible. Let's be honest. That's what it is. If he was still here to represent his own information, represent the landscape of what today's financial landscape looks like, would we have an updated book? Or would he still be saying the same thing? And if the case is that he was looking for alternative solutions that were answers to the problem of now having to we don't have pensions are falling away. Hey, America, we have to do something. Let's use these products, these vehicles to map out how we're going to get there, and we can do this in a different way, right? This is what he did decades ago. But this is before even premium financing came out.
Let's go back even further, though. What did those who were providing the pensions say about the IRA that was started in 1974?
Oh, no doubt. And don't get me started about what they were saying when Roth was introduced.
Hold on.
Oh, by the way, it was
before that,
introduced.
it was the 401k.
Right. For sure.
Right. What did those? I can't remember Jack. I can't remember his name, but the guy that created the 401k, it was never designed to be a pension. It just became the pension. But what did those who had an IRA and a pension say about the 401k when it started?
Right.
When Nelson Nash started his focus on, or the opportunity to use a whole life policy to do these great and wonderful things, was Nelson first?
I was just going to say he was not the
first.
He was not the first one. And that's what I think is unfortunate about this, is that instead of this being more about, let's really talk about the strategies,
Right.
which I do think that there are some people who have tried to break down the strategy and compare it against something else. It's really hard, though, because it's not apples to apples, right? We're not talking about the same product. It doesn't function the same. It doesn't. Neither one of them can talk about something that hasn't happened yet. You can only forecast, but what we can talk about is historically what has happened with what we currently have available to us, right? So if we're building a house, for instance, and we're talking about the strongest foundation that we can pour and the different techniques, and hey, we've been doing it this way for years, and so why would we build a house any differently? Some might say, well, we might do it differently because it would save money, right? We might do it differently because it would save time. But the purpose of a foundation, if we haven't checked the box
that it is strong,
Secure.
and secure, right, then why are we having any of these other conversations? And a lot of the time, what we're not able to see is why certain conversations lead with certain factors, right? Why those are the most important factors. And I think that the dichotomy inside of the financial space is partly in this is how people make a living, whether they're using strategies or not, right? There's even financial advisors who can't sell away. So even if they knew of a different, better option for you, they can't tell you about it.
Right.
And even if you know that people who are managing funds are getting paid something 2/3 of an account over the course of a career, we could have retired 19 years earlier if we didn't have all these fees being taken out. 19 years. We can't, because this is just normal. And who is not going to buck if you started to threaten that whole industry, right? But when we truly take control, which is the whole point of the 401k, the whole point of the individual retirement account, right? The whole point was so that we did have control. The whole point was so that this was now in our wheelhouse and we were not cuffed, these golden handcuffs to these employers. We could take it with us if we wanted to. But the truth is, you can take zero all you want. Some of us don't have the time to recover. We had to have different solutions. And we're going to have even more solutions come about. Right. And I think that's the part is if we're not embracing and we're not all jumping in, instead of saying why this can't work, saying how could it work and what else could we do? Like what's the next thing that's coming? How could we improve upon this even? Then why are we protecting something that is not working for people? That's the problem that I have with this. It is not that there's not possibly something that everyone's overlooking or that maybe there's some flaws in it. It's how can we continue to improve all of these products so that everybody wins? And why are we protecting the people who win even when we lose?
So, man, that is perfect. There's three things for me. One, and Mr. Bond, I so appreciate the question. The first thing is AG49. You guys should Google it. I think what we've learned through this process is the miss here was a lot of things that were being marketed were not AG49 compliant. And so what you've seen is, okay, let's pull back. Let's pull back and become AG49 compliant. What that means is when I'm talking about a leveraged IUL, it is just a leveraged IUL. MPI is a strategy applied to an IUL. There is no such thing as an MPI policy. The same way there's no such thing as an infinite banking policy. You cannot buy an infinite banking policy. Infinite banking is a strategy applied to a whole life or an IUL. Same thing. So that's one, AG49. The second is why don't all life insurance companies offer this strategy? Like if it's so great and wonderful, why is it just these few? And it's really, really simple. Life insurance companies make money by selling life insurance. This is a strategy where in order for it to work effectively, you have to buy as little life insurance as possible. So you can't apply this strategy to just anybody's life insurance product. Because if the life insurance product is not designed such with the least amount of fees, the least amount of life insurance, it will not work. This strategy only works in a positive arbitrage created situation. So how do you create a positive arbitrage created situation? It has to be in a product that is designed for it. So the reason you will not see thousands of life insurance companies participating, because it will force those companies to be willing to take less.
What industry do we know that's willing to take less?
Where's the cricket button?
We do have one. Even the food that we have, right? There it is. even the food that we have is different than the food that's offered in other countries. And the reason for that is because it doesn't benefit the companies to actually do the right thing.
Right.
We have the ability to take control, and we get to, right? It's not just that it's there if you want it. It's we all should. And once we are able to do that, then we're not asking for permission anymore. And also, who is there to share in the consequences with us when we get to the age where we go, oh, I guess this didn't work out. I guess what everybody else was saying didn't actually work out. There are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people who are realizing that right now. And they were born in this era where they had all the solutions. They had all the great markets, right? And now they're realizing that, the bar we were setting was $1 million for retirement, not realizing that wasn't going to be enough.
Right.
How is it not enough? And it's because they were basing everything off of a rule that doesn't apply anymore, the 4% rule, right? They had information that was just completely outdated. And if you really think about it, you know where I'm going to go with this. And I have to for just a moment. These plans, these rules, the research that was done, these strong opinions were from the same people, the same generation of people who thought meat and Jell-O went together and made a fancy meal, was worthy of magazines. So you have to ask yourself, if they're fine with, no, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's fine. Okay. I can get with if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I could get with why does everything have to be disposable? We don't need something new. Just if it's still working and it's still functional, why aren't we using it? I can get with that. What I can't get with is if I say that I'd rather be right than be correct. Can't get with that. I also can't get with this is what I prefer because this is what I feel comfortable with. So therefore, I'm not going to try a veggie burger, right? I'm going to put meat and Jell-O together and I would rather have that. Well, some people call that spam, and that's actually not bad, right? We're not canning on spam here. It's the opinion of I'm going to do what uncle and aunt and whoever I respect,
they're the subject matter experts, because
they are so confident and they will judge me if I even wanted to step out of this line and do something non-traditional, unconventional.
Conditioning.
Yeah. So a lot of real estate developers, same thing, the way that they go about structuring their deals. Not how many people within even that community aren't even aware that self-directed accounts exist, and they're structuring this in a completely different way, which not only puts them at risk, they're not protected, but they don't have leverage and they don't have timely leverage to boot, right?
Right.
In addition to being drained for fees. So we don't know what we don't know, and that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But refusing to learn just simply because you want what you know to be enough and not move forward with new knowledge is where I get off. We have to keep learning, and we have to keep finding better solutions for everyone. There's enough out here for everyone to win. I fully believe that. And I just don't think that continuing to harp on advice that says, nope, this is the only way. To be fair, Curtis was saying this is the only way. And it's the marketing, from what you're saying. It was the marketing and how he was positioning it, and he was just rubbing everybody wrong. So I think there's people just don't like him.
Right.
But
that brings up my third point, because we talk about this all the time. There are many ways to 10.
Right. There it is.
Show me on our channel where, because here's the weird, I call it dynamic that I am in. Me personally. I stand in a room of IRA and 401k people, and I educate them on how to leverage an IRA or 401k. Most rooms that you stand in with IRA and 401k people say life insurance is the devil. But I also
they also say that in IRA, they only talk about an IRA. So let's keep that into perspective.
That's it.
Even inside of the real estate community, where you have prohibited transactions, and most of the people in that room probably don't have a valid IRA.
Right. But
they're still only talking about them, which is wild to me.
That's my point. So I'm in spaces where what I'm hearing is the only way is the IRA or 401k. But then I come over and I stand in similar spaces with life insurance people. And what do the life insurance people say?
Whole life.
IRAs and 401ks are trash. There's only one way.
Yeah.
But then I go to the infinite banking space.
Oh, yeah.
Those who do infinite banking say what? Whole life is the Bible of Nelson Nash said whole life is the only way. I'm constantly in spaces where everyone is saying their way is the only way, when the truth is none of these are or assets. These are and assets. And we should be having and discussions, because the one is not going to get us there. But when you understand that there's many ways to 10, and when you focus on where is my leverage might be actually in my home. Because guess what happens when I walk into a bank and say, hey, I want to leverage the equity in my home?
They say, why would you want to do that? Or
because the mortgage is the only way.
Or they say, you know what we can do instead? We can refinance you, start that interest.
Start that clock all
right,
over.
Right. We can
get money out of it, though.
We can give you a second position HELOC, because I'm going to tell you right now, you don't know about a first position. You don't want that. You don't want that smoke. So let me give you a second position HELOC. And when you have to educate them on what a first position is, first of all, he had to educate Bank of America that they even offered it. Why? Why is that a thing? But it's a true story. Then on top of having to educate them, this is why becoming self-directed
that's where I'm headed.
as a mindset. It's not even just an account type, right? Like, just it's a movement. It's a way of life. Like, just learning so that you feel like you're making confident and educated decisions, right? The point that I'm trying to make, though, is that it doesn't matter where you go. The sad part is that it's not just that everybody's always like out to, I'm willing to give you bad information to hurt you because it benefits me. That's not always how it is. Sometimes it's that they really believe they were told and sold on this idea, and they don't know how to pivot into going, well, what's your goal? What's your situation? What are the variables in your equation? And then let's figure out what the best thing for you. And that's why you got to know that.
Right.
And you can.
And that's the part. That's the self-directed part. It's you being able to stand in a room comfortably and go, even though they're telling me only, all they're trying to do is sell me a product. They are no smarter than I am. They may have information that I don't have, but they are not smarter than me. They are not the subject matter experts. They are the salesmen. They're selling life insurance. They're selling mortgages. They're selling IRAs and 401ks. And now it is up to me to go, you know what? How can I leverage them all to hit my goal?
Yeah, or which piece fits into my puzzle.
Exactly. So and again, there are many ways to 10. Maybe you can't qualify for a 401k and you have to get a self-directed IRA, but you do have equity in your home and you can qualify for a properly structured cash value life insurance product. So you put those things together to be able to accomplish your goal. What's the goal, and how can all of these pieces work together? And here's what I would prefer. I would prefer you get me in the room with your financial advisor, with your whole life insurance guy, and let's all just try to figure out how we can best serve you, versus this one trying to sell your product, so therefore he's talking bad about that one. Like, the math don't math.
And I would hope that those would be opportunities where other people, whether they have a YouTube channel or not, that they would be looking at, what is it that I'm missing that you're seeing?
Man.
And ask that question.
How can we work together?
Yeah. What is it that will help me? Because the majority of people who get on the phone or they have their person get on a call with you, they end up going like, okay, I didn't understand this before. And a lot of the times it's because it was pivoted or presented from a lens that was why it can't work.
Right.
And there's a lot of information missing. So once they see it, they go, hold on a second, I didn't know that. And that's what I feel like when I watch these other videos too, is a lot of them are missing information, or they do not understand the strategy part behind it. And that's unfortunate, because there's a lot of people who are missing out. And
the saddest part of it all, they're not tied to your outcome.
Man.
They will not sit in the consequence.
They sleep well at night.
They are not tied to what your financial future looks like in 10 or 20 years. They're not going to be there. That YouTube video is not going to, there's no consequence for them putting that out, just as if we have our own opinions of things, right? So we have a lot of more questions popping in. So
Let's do it.
yeah, but if you guys do have more questions, please put them in the chat and put a Q in front of them so we can identify them. Okay. Gabo says, Donnell, I would love to know the details about your jump experience with your first life insurance if we have time at some point today.
Today, probably not. But and actually, I'm cool with doing a live and kind of breaking down the jump in general. But it was actually really simple. Here's the way it works. For those who may be wondering, like, what is a jump?
What is a jump?
Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
here?
what is it?
So this is about a properly structured cash value life insurance product. Specifically, it's an IUL with leverage, which has a strategy applied to it some would call MPI. The way it works is I contributed a dollar amount in year one. I contributed a dollar amount in year two. The dollar amount I'm about to contribute in year three comes with a friend. The life insurance company is now going to add everything that I contributed in year one on top of what I'm contributing at year three, which means I'm putting in 3 times the original contribution. The life insurance company's put in 1, which means I've got 4 times my original contribution amount working for me. All that ultimately means mathematically is I have more money working for me at year 3 than I would have had if the leverage wasn't there. I didn't get the leverage for free. I got the leverage at a low interest rate. But the objective is to make a higher interest rate, a spread. I get to keep the spread. The life insurance company keeps the money that it cost me to leverage, and away we go. Over time, this just continues. What does going through a jump process mean? What that means is I was approved for this much life insurance. In order to add the leverage at year 3, I need to get approved for this much life insurance. What does that mean? Well, I have to get approved, as in I may have to go through some underwriting, which I did. I had to go through a medical exam, which I did. Got approved. Matter of fact, I just got approved, a couple days ago. And so now that leverage that I was referencing is now going into my policy to continue the growth. In short, that's what it looks like. But I'd be happy to break down those numbers because the math is actually pretty outstanding.
Yeah, and if you've seen the buckets, that's the buckets.
That's it.
That's the bucket breakdown, if you've seen that. Okay, Frank. Frank has been standing by for his question. How do you find out if you started a 401k?
If I'm not mistaken,
we did this, yeah.
Yes, that QR code that I pulled up related to how to understand how to borrow against, I want to say in that same live so we'll have to find it. Because I don't think we put it in the resources. So it's probably something that we can add to our resources at selfdirected.info/live.
Yeah,
we will add that to the resources. But there's several sites. I want to say there's 3 or 4 different sites that you can put your personal information in, and it will find those 401ks for you. Outside of that, it would start with going back to the company that you left or the company that you used to work for, going to their pay and benefits department, having them look you up based off your social and birth date and probably the time frame that you worked there. They will identify who the custodian was that your 401k was with, and you should be able to go to them, provide your social and your birth date, and they should be able to find it for you. Again, a lot of words, but ultimately, because that's the old school way of finding it. But there are sites now that can help you find it. So
yes, Beagle is one of those sites.
How do you remember that?
I just do. Beagle is one of those sites, but there's also that's more like a service-based site. So they'll
want
go
a dollar amount.
Yeah, they probably want. The reason why these sites will go and hunt these down for you is because they do want a portion of it. But there are other government ran sites that will also look. It's like almost like a search engine now, where you put your information into your point, and kind of like your student loans, right? In the same type of way. We did go over this, and I wish I had all of those links like just right here to grab. Just for any replay viewers, I will grab them and put them in the description below or in the comments too, just so that they're accessible.
Great question.
But yeah, it is a great question. And there are a lot of people who have them. They just forget about them. And they go, oh, well, like whatever it's going to do or it didn't do doesn't matter now because I can't find it. If you find it, you can roll it over.
And to your point, some were contributing to a retirement account and didn't know it. So when they left, how do they know that they actually left something, right? Because they were having automatic withdrawals taken out of their account going into this retirement account and didn't even know. Like, how crazy is that?
And I bet there's going to be a lot more of that now that they've mandated contributions in some cases. What I appreciate about that, though, is we could look at this we could shape this any way we wanted to. Yeah. We could say, how dare they mandate this, right? Or we could say, they know, one, that they like the deferment of taxes, right? Like they dig it. They dig the fact that they're going to get paid more then than they would now. And so that helps them maybe assess how much we're going to be getting. Like, can we keep this machine going, right? Like that's part of their machine. We get that. We could look at it and say, they're doing this because they care about the fact that people are not in a good place now. And so that's why even more indicators and red flags. This is why we can now mandate, because we have a good reason to, because people aren't doing this on their own. And now they're in a terrible position, which means they need more help, right? We could look at it another way. A lot of people were dependent on Social Security. They paid into Social Security. They are now dependent on Social Security or are planning to be dependent on Social Security for part of that income. When you really do the math on inflation, when you really do the math on what that means, especially they called them baby boomers for a reason. It wasn't because there was only just a few of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was because there was a lot of babies being born. And it was a boom, a baby boom. There's a good reason for that. And this is also why so many other things were so attractive to the American dream that was born out of this same thing, right? Like you can hear the music, you can see the house, the picket fence, right? We can see it all, Leave It to Beaver, American dream. And now those people are retiring and they're like, yeah, give us our Social Security. Give us the American dream. We don't care what other people have past this. Like we literally do not care. We deserve it. Like we were born into this. This was made for us. This was sold to us. It wasn't sold to any of these new generations. You told us that we were going to have this. So that's all we really care about. And we love that for them too, right? Like that's what they told us. So we would hope that if they made promises to us during our prime, to be fair, in between your meat and Jell-O commercials, right, that you were also, they were making good on those promises that they were putting in there. So we can look at it a lot of different ways. The one thing stays true, though. What they're saying is you're in control. You're going to have the consequence. You are going to sit with whatever the results are. And now we're going to help you, because by the time you get to the point where you need our help and we have to tell you it's not going to be there, we have to try to find another way. The only way we can ensure that it will be there is to keep this machine going, which means you're going to need to pay more in taxes. And in order to do that, those funds got to go in there now, and then and more of them, right? Please.
And then we'll write that check later.
Yeah, please. Brain check. And that's really what, anyway, many ways to 10. We can look at this 1,000 different ways, but that's what it is. So Frank, if you are feeling like you have a 401k out there, can you see where rolling it over might not be, it might not benefit you to just let it sit there. So go grab them. And if you have changed your job recently, if you've been laid off, if you are thinking about making a move, maybe you haven't really had the confidence to take the leap and you've wanted to become an entrepreneur, for instance. That could be another thing, another moment for people in this same space. For you, it was like, is this the time because this event happened? But for some people, they might be going, I have to make this happen. I can't wait for an event to happen.
Right.
I'm going to have to take the jump. And hopefully now you see where your leverage is and where you can feel a bit of relief knowing that you have options at least, right? Zaid has a good question. I hope you're still on.
He said, I would love to start a family business and to get out of the 9 to 5. These strategies make the dream seem more realistic and possible.
What's the question?
It's not a question. I meant it's a comment.
Oh, no.
I was thinking he was asking for you to talk about you starting the family business.
Yeah.
Or getting out of the 9 to 5 at least.
Well, and I think you've been taking a lot of those steps towards that process already with your secure compound interest accounts. I think it's understanding. I've been talking a lot about purpose. Like, why are we here? Like, am I here to spend this 40, 60, 80 hours a week at this job, giving them everything that I got just to come home and fall asleep and not really be there for my family? I don't think so. I don't think that's why we're here. So it's understanding where your leverage is located. Is your leverage located in the income that you make? Is there leverage located in the home that you have, so that you can pool those funds in and put those funds in position so that you can go fulfill purpose? And so that business that you're referencing, I want to position it more like, why are we here? And is there a way to monetize your purpose even? Like, is there a need out there that is there something out there that people need? And is there an opportunity to also be able to generate income enough so that you can do that? Like, so, and that's where, sitting down with your family, kind of identify, like, what are those things that we love? What are those things that come natural? What are those things that get you up in the morning and you go, that didn't even feel like work? Like, I actually enjoy what I just did. How can I do this more? And I think what I learned about me is my superpower is the ability to take something that seems complicated and break it down into bite-sized pieces. And when I get it, I got it. And what I learned about me is if I'm not obedient to giving it away, like, I think I was placed here to take this information and give it. Not charge for it, give it. As long as I give it, this information continues to come, and it's almost like a rinse and repeat. I get to do it over and over and over again, and it does not feel like work. I can do this all day long and still be energetic enough to go do other things. I've never felt that way. I used to work for Ford Motor Company. I used to be at work by 4:45 a.m. and I'd get home at 8, put my kids in the tub, get them out of the tub, put them in the bed, and that was my day. I can spend that same amount of time doing this, and like, I still have the energy to actually be there for my household, knowing that I'm just giving information away. So to me, it's finding that purpose. I wish I was good I think my wife wishes that I was good with my hands. Like, man, I wish a part of my purpose was building things.
Well, I do. I like to, because I like to create things, and I'm like, hey, let's make something.
That's not my purpose.
That's not what I wish you were good at.
No. What I'm saying is, like, if this wasn't what I was supposed to be doing, and what I was supposed to be doing was building things, I would be trying to figure out how I could build things all the time, how I can incorporate my kids in helping me build things, how I can help educate them on building more things. Like, if that was, so I think it's more around finding purpose and transitioning that purpose into business.
Well, I can tell you right now, one of the reasons why we live stream and we don't record more videos is because if you want to talk about what is draining, we could be on a 3-hour live stream and he will move right into the rest of the day like it never happened. We record a video for an hour and you're done.
I gotta go to sleep.
You're done. You're like, I don't want to talk to.
I'm done.
I'm just. But he could be on the phone talking to people back to back, miss lunch, from 6:30 a.m. till 7 p.m. back to back. He's done that so many times we can't even count, and nothing. He's totally fine. What do you want to do? Let's go do it. He's still stepping. That is different for me because I remember you coming home from work and knowing that, like, you just needed a minute. Yeah.
Like, let me recharge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I do appreciate about this is it does feel like we are constantly recharged in that way. But to your point about finding something that you love to do, I don't know that everybody has
like confine this thing and have it be
Purpose. I agree. I agree with you. I'm talking purpose though. Love to do and purpose to me are a little bit different.
Here's what I was gonna say. This isn't because you get doing free consults all day
absolutely
is
not.
somehow helping us in or providing what we need to do what we do.
Right.
It's because we already had a system in place that worked.
That's the part.
And we already had a machine built that fed itself, that we could get out here and show other people how we built our machine that feeds itself, how you could do it too. So it's not dependent anymore on trading your time for money, because you're taking the money that you are getting in, and that money goes out and finds friends, has babies, whatever it is. It's a machine. It's different than this is the business and this is the lifestyle and this is the wins because I'm good at what I do. If we're good at what we do, it means that we don't have to do what everyone else, we don't have to sell courses or any of those things. And I'm not against people who do. That's not the point.
Yeah.
I think we just know what we're supposed to be doing.
That's the part.
And we have a goal, and we want to make sure that this is not, that other families are able to have access to the information, because we know how powerful the information was. That was the part, the keys was the information. And whatever other people do, we just have to stay in our lane and do that, right?
And that's that obedient part. Like being obedient to what I think I'm supposed to be doing. That's all I can do. And it's as long as we're walking down the path that it seems like has been set before us, everything else will work itself out.
Yeah, Corvette has a question too.
Jesus, Nathan. Oh my gosh.
84 hours a week. He said he hadn't been here because his schedule changed. That's crazy.
And what I hear, Nate, because I've been there, again, I've came from industries that this is what we do. And yeah, the key is leverage. Like what you're also building there, like the 84 hours is taxing. It's where I get it, but there's also leverage in there as well. How are you using that leverage so that it can transition to something different?
Yeah. And make this part, building a vehicle so that you can arrive to a different place,
right,
at a different place.
Right.
I think that's
right now that job is leveraging you. I just want to make sure you are also leveraging that job to get you to a better place.
Yeah, because doing that for a little bit of time, I think not a lot of people are willing to do that either, right? I mean, we've got 4 in our family.
Different generation.
Let me tell you right now, if we were to say all you got to do is 84 hours a week, do this for 2 years and you will never have to ever do this again, right? They're like, I wouldn't do it for 2 days. Why would I do that? Absolutely not. Joke's on you. Not going to listen anymore. Definitely not. But thanks for chiming in. I was listening. I was present. Where's my sticker? So there's that. Okay, Corvette has a question, and then I think we can. Corvette says, would one be able to locate a 401k through unclaimed funds search? I do think that was one of the sites that we went over. Yeah, that was one of those like more government regulated sites than like a service like Beagle. Yeah. Right.
And I do believe so, but I just, for the life of me, I cannot remember what those steps were, but I do know we covered it. So we just need to pull that up and we will get it into the resources. We'll get it to you.
Yeah, we'll go look for that now. Mm-hmm. Okay, so on that note, I think we've addressed all the questions, and I really want to say thank you so much to everyone who shared even just their testimonies or their experience with us here in the chat and with other people. We know that what our hope is that, and we've seen so many people just who are in the chat right now who have taken the information that they've gotten here with us. Now they have become the vessel, right? So they are now each one teach one. They're out there sharing this with other people. And some of you might be watching because somebody shared us with you, which we are super grateful for. Go share this with somebody else. If you know somebody who is getting laid off or they're afraid that they're going to be laid off, right? Help relieve their anxiety by saying, look,
here's how you can pivot before the end of the year, and make sure that they get this information so that they can get their account set up before the end of the year. That's an important part. Follow the bouncing ball before the end of the year. They gotta get it set up. If you know somebody in these industries and they're just not even aware that this is a thing yet, some of them aren't.
Right.
Don't let them be caught off guard. Share this information with them then too. We can also get this edited so that we cut out all the rest of it. It's just like the meat and potatoes. We've been trying to do better about that, if you haven't noticed. So we have the resources to get out to them. We've got the rest of this month, right? And next month to like book your call, get in, get whatever the application process. What is that? What is that process?
How do I point? Where's it at? There.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, right there.
Right
Go there,
Yep.
book a call, pick a time that works best for you. All those consults are free. So it's at, look forward to seeing you on there. Let's see, we will be out of town. So we've got some
A few more events.
Yeah, a few more events this year. Orlando, California. So Florida, California, or maybe 2 in California. So we're not entirely sure. We know we've got 2 more this year for sure. We will try to do our best to bring Wednesdays back, but we might have to just wait until the first of the year, right? To iron all the rest of this stuff out. But we really appreciate you guys spending your time here with us and the ability to serve. I'm trying to remove this. Here we go. Okay. Well, I think we've handled the comments. Is there anything else you wanted to leave them with?
No, I think we're good. I think the last slide that I always fail to hit this slide, it's just simply get self-directed, meaning it's about control. Hopefully this is informational enough for you to just go identify where your leverage is located. That's all we're talking about. Where is your leverage located? How can you use it? How can you put it to work? How can you have more control over your destiny versus waiting on someone to tell you what you can or cannot do? So at the end of the day, get self-directed. That's probably what we're about to jump into right now.
Yes, we like to end with, if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay tuned.
Stay protected.
Stay focused.
Stay connected.
I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
And our goal is to help you
get self-directed.
And to do that, we have a ton of free resources and a growing community. So we hope you'll join us there. We're here every Sunday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we hope to see you back. Jump in the chat and let us know, or the replay if you've been watching. So we're out.
Let's do it.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next Sunday. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get
self-directed.